Jillian Turecki, these are your fast five. The first question is, what is the best love advice you've ever heard or received?
No one is perfect. Figure out what you can tolerate and what you can't tolerate.
I like that. Second question is, what is the worst relationship advice you've ever heard or received?
You don't have to lean on your husband when you're going through a miscarriage. Just lean on your mother and your sister. That was the worst advice I got from a therapist.
Someone said that to you?
Yeah, a therapist. He said that to me. Mm-hmm.
Let's take a detour to focus on that a little bit. How did that feel?
Very confusing. I understand when you're in a relationship that your partner should not be your only confidant, that it's really important to have some community or other people around you that you go to. You don't have to go to your partner for every single thing. You gotta have other sources. But if you're going through a miscarriage and you can't lean on your partner, to me that sounds insane. But I think her intention was, don't lean on him for everything. And so I took that on as, oh my God, I'm being too dependent or being too codependent. And it was very confusing. And it was only later on when I started to do this work where I recognized that that was the worst piece of advice I've ever received ever from anyone. And especially in that situation, and I could not disagree with it more. That's exactly who you should be leaning on. And it's exactly who you should feel safe leaning on.
Question number 3. One of your hard truths is, number 8, no one is coming to save you. What do you do?
Save yourself and choose someone who's going to have your back while you do that.
Great answer. And question number 4, truth number 9, you say you must make peace with your parents. Why is that so important?
What I will say first, because I think this is important, in the book, I do say if you were sexually abused or terribly abused, I would no way tell someone to make peace with their parent. Mm-hmm. What I would encourage them to do is to figure out how to become the hero of their story rather than just the survivor. Even if you never speak to their parent again, you have to figure out a way to question the story that you have about them so that you are looking at them and thinking of them through the lens of your adult self and not your child self. Because if you don't, that is going to infiltrate your romantic life and cause you a lot of problems. Wish that was one word, but it's a tough one.
No, it's a great answer. No, absolutely.
Yeah.
And fifth and final question, if you could create one law that everyone in the world had to follow, what would it be?
Oh, I know I'm going to say something and then I'm going to later. I'm like, oh my God, we're going to change that. One law. Oh my God. Letting go is so much easier than clinging. It's really hard, but your life will be so much better than clinging if you learn to just let things be. There is no the one. There really isn't. I mean, we actually choose who the one is. And this is really, really important. Love, as I'm sure you know, is a choice. Like, it's a feeling for sure, but we're so conditioned to believe that love is just a feeling as opposed to a choice. And that if you do decide to be with someone long term, you're going to have to make that choice many, many times throughout your relationship, which is, I choose you, right? So people want to rush it. And so what they do, and what I've done, is that we lie to ourselves. And it's also because we've been lied by society that there is, and romanticism, that there is this one person who's going to come into your life and rescue you and make your life better. And that once you find that person, everything becomes easier. And I'm certainly not advocating for people being in difficult relationships, but the more challenges you've had in relationships, the less that you've been modeled what it is to actually really love someone, the more you are going to be challenged to overcome and transcend old things and old patterning to actually love someone and to do love, where it's a verb and not just a feeling. So how do we slow it down and we just want to rush it? It's about acknowledging that feeling. So a lot of people, they meet, there's chemistry. And I know that this was me. I think if there's chemistry, then this is it. As opposed to, well, maybe in the past there's been chemistry and I haven't had chemistry with the right people. So maybe I need to slow down a little bit and sort of process my enthusiasm. And it's not about, I don't want to rain on anyone's parade. All that stuff is really fun in the beginning. But you want to just say, okay, hold on. What am I feeling right now? This feels really good. This is really exciting. But I need to slow down because I actually need to uncover this person's character. I need to uncover their values. I perhaps need to get a little bit clearer on what it is that I need, what it is that I value, and what it is that I really, really want. Not just my preference, but what do I need in order to function in a relationship? Do I have some understanding of myself? It's difficult. Women, childbearing age, societal pressures, get married. I understand. I have nothing but compassion for that. The more that I can stress that who you decide to partner with is one of the most important decisions you will ever make in your entire life.
One of your hard truths that I loved is truth number 5, you must speak up and tell the truth.
Yes.
And I was going to ask you, what's the difference between telling the truth and being worried about being too honest too early on? Because it's almost like we want to share our truth and we want to be honest, but we don't want to scare them away.
Yeah.
We don't want to overstep. It's a fine balance. And I think it's hard for people. Like you said earlier, we also want them to like us. And so what does that look like?
For me, what I tell people, I think you should be as direct and honest from the very beginning. And I think that that's actually very attractive. That is different, however, than sharing your entire childhood pain to a stranger. So that's not the honesty I'm talking about. Someone has to kind of earn that information, and I don't think it's appropriate to share everything like that with a stranger. I think that has to go a little bit more slowly. There's a progression to getting to know someone. It's like you know someone, then you're getting closer, and then you're sharing a little, then you're starting to open up and be vulnerable. You don't have to do that on the first date. But in terms of honesty of what it is that you really want, what it is that you really need, I think right from date one.
I agree.
This becomes more complicated when you're actually in a relationship.
If someone has withheld information or broken trust in that way, not been honest because of the fears you mentioned earlier, which I think were very well and clearly laid out, how do you repair that? What does that look like?
Well, it depends on what the withholding or the lies are about. Sometimes it's you're withholding a truth of just how you feel. And that's like not as much of a betrayal to the other as it is to oneself, which is I'm not speaking up. I'm not telling you how this landed in my body for me and how angry I am at you. Because no one will lie to you more than you'll lie to yourself. And so a big part of telling the truth begins with telling the truth to ourselves. Because oftentimes we don't want to look at it. It's hard. We suppress it. We don't want to express it. But how do you repair from that? Well, it depends. Maybe you need a third party, understanding what were the boundaries that were crossed, to what degree, how much can you find compassion for the person when they were withholding the truth? How much can you see that it actually wasn't personal and that it was just something that they were doing because they were afraid? You repair with a lot of listening, a lot of communication, and possibly with a third party. But yeah, it's not easy.
Yeah.
And it depends on the degree of, again, if it's actually a betrayal or this is hard. But we have to learn to not take so many things so personally, because oftentimes, and I'm not talking about infidelity and things that are really detrimental to the sanctity of a relationship, but oftentimes people are doing that and they just were too afraid. But why didn't you tell me how you feel? You have to tell me how you feel. And yes, you kind of do. And you have every right to feel sort of like a mini betrayal from that. How can I show up for you? How can I be in this relationship if you don't tell me how you feel?